Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the February 20th, that's a good start, meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 23 signing of the Acts of 23 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31, 2025. This meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 508-945-4410 and enter conference ID 504-285-8, pound sign. 945-4410, enter 504-285-8, pound sign, or one may join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. This is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, and despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. And therefore, we are going to continue our work on the warrant. We're going to focus on airport articles and have a presentation today on the proposed Center for Active Living renovations. So with that, I'll call the roll. Tommy Doan. I see him. Tommy, can you hear us?
Looks frozen.
Tommy's froze. Barbara?
Here.
John?
Here.
Joanne?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Kristen?
Here.
Tracy?
Here.
Eric?
Yes.
And the chair is here. Welcome, everybody. Carrie, do you want to start us off, or are we going to go straight to Terry? How do you want to do it?
Sure. So we're going to be going over the airport capital articles in the amount of $59,175 for FY 2026. And then after that, we're going to be going over the Center for Active Living Expansion and Renovation article at 193 Stony Hill Road.
Thank you, Carrie. Just a quick question for you on the agenda report you provided to the Select Board on February 13. You note that the $59,000 and change will have a 1 cent impact on the tax levy. Isn't that actually less than a cent? Isn't it like 0.6 of a cent? Doesn't a penny, I mean, just for the record, doesn't a penny roughly raise $100,000+?
Yes, it's actually less than a cent, yes.
So this is like
You
half
are
a
correct.
cent.
It's, yes, it's like half of a
Right,
cent.
just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Terry, welcome.
Thank you. Hello again, Terry Whalen, Projects and Operations Administrator. I'm here today in my role as the Airport Commission Liaison. I believe Chairman Harrison is online as well to answer any technical questions, but I'll just do a quick overview of the airport request for FY26. And as has been the practice for probably the past 5-6 years, maybe even longer, we've been breaking out the airport capital requests outside of the capital plan. So for this year, or for upcoming FY26, there are 3 projects that have been identified in the Airport Commission. So on a 5-year basis, in concert working both with the FAA and MassDOT, they agree upon a 5-year AIP, the equivalent of a airport, and that's what it stands for, Airport Improvement Plan, their CIP. So these are the projects that they were noted as out-year projects, excuse me, in the previous year's budget book. So this year there are 3 projects, the first being a design permit bid for the main apron rehabilitation. The second project is drainage improvements and pave the parking lot. And the third project is nav aid replacements. And I'm going to just show a couple of quick slides of what those might entail. But I think the big message here and the details are in the capital plan sheets. Basically, the requests here are for the 5% local match, and then their state kicks in another 5%, and the feds kick in 90% of the total project cost. So it basically leverages the remaining 95% of the total project costs. And like I said, and any of the attendees from the Airport Commission can answer maybe more of the technical questions, but just what are these projects? So when we're talking about the main apron here, this is a quick graphic from the airport layout plan, and the inset to the right here has more of a blow-up. So this is, if you're driving along George Ryder Road, just before the maintenance hangar building, that's the area you see. Again, it's a paved area and periodically needs to be updated. This is the first phase of the project, and it needs to be done to, FAA and state standards. So this first project is basically funding for developing the design, doing the permitting, and the bidding. And then there'll be a subsequent request for the actual rehabilitation. The second project is, again, I just highlighted here quickly so you have a sense of what area we're talking about. So basically directly across from the Annex PD complex here. So we've got the Annex building where we are right now, over here, and the PD. So the existing parking lot area for improvements are here to pave that, add some drainage, and make some other corrections. So that's been something that's been, as you may or may not be familiar with, it's basically a gravel surface that poses some maintenance challenges, and handicap accessibility will be improved there as well as part of that project. And then the nav aid replacement for, and again, this is where I'll defer to pilots on more of the technical, but basically the primary lighting precision approach path indicator lights, so those indicate the plane's too high, too low, coming in. So key to safety, those are need for replacements. The newer products are LEDs and better performing, both electric use-wise and in general, and same thing with runway and identifier lights. So those are, as you can see here, kind of just basically another indicator for pilots, so they know, pilots who may be unfamiliar with the airport as well, for safety. And then this project also involves, you may or may not be familiar with, the airport rotating beacon. So that's on top of the building, and then also some improvements to the wind cone and sock locations. So those are the kind of the highlights of the project. And if you have any detailed questions, someone from probably the commission could answer them, or I can give it a shot as well. But I think this year they're pretty straightforward projects from both the planning and implementation standpoint.
Terrific. Thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry? Eric, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Terry, on the first one, I know that that's just for the design and permitting for that project. It looks like, I think if I'm reading that right, this portion of it is $375,000 with all the match included in there. Any sense of what the actual project's going to be? Just for a flat area like that, it seems like a lot for design costs, just not knowing anything.
Yeah, so there's other elements in there as well with a drainage, and I think there's maybe even some gate work involved in that too. But yeah, the Fed specifications and bidding, for better or worse, have higher levels of specifications and requirements. So that's the estimate that they've programmed. So again, they really determine the total project cost.
Terry, I see that Huntley Harrison, the chairman of the Aircraft Commission, is with us and his camera is on. Huntley, there we go. Huntley, is there anything that you'd like to add to Terry's explanation, please?
Yeah, just to chime in on that, the total cost of the project is in federal FY 27, and for the rehabilitation of the main apron, and the total cost that year is the FAA portion is $2,250,000. The total cost of the project is $2,500,000, with local share of $125,000 for FY 27. So the design bid and permitting piece is first, which is the $18,750. Does that help?
And if I can add, it's about 100 per the plan. It's over 100. It's about 152,000 square feet of area. So if that provides any context for the scope and scale of the project.
Thank you, Terry. Barbara, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Terry, I'm just wondering about the lighting. The LED lights, they have some really extraordinarily bright LED lights, and they have some lower, warmer ones. Do you have any idea which kind are going to be put up? And are they going to run all night long, or only when planes are coming in?
So the PAPIs are actually actuated, so that's the 4 light, as I understood, those are actuated as a plane is coming in. Maybe Huntley can help me out on the REILs, the runway. Again, I'm not sure if those are actuated, but I think, and then to your second question, your first question, I apologize, on the order, any of those requirements would be to whatever the FAA specs are for safety. So we could get to that answer unless Huntley knows that
Yeah,
specifically.
Huntley, any thoughts on that first?
I see Tim just came on. Let him answer that.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Yes, thank you. As far as the lights go for the PAPI and the Reels lights, their brightness wouldn't be any different than what we have now. They simply would be LED function to reduce maintenance costs. And yes, both those lights would only be coming on under the pilot controlled lighting, which basically means it's triggered by the pilot of the airplane that's approaching the airport at night, and they're set to a timer. They turn off after about 10 minutes. So they are not on all night.
Thanks, Tim.
Kristen, please.
My first question, at least for now, is on the parking project, are you going to be integrating green infrastructure in the stormwater management, or is this going to be the typical pave it and I'm hoping the first?
Yeah, no, my understanding is the former, that, and again, that's to the higher standards and specs for the Fed requirements. So that's would be whatever the sediment reduction will be part of that, is my understanding.
So the feds are going to stipulate green infrastructure?
Not necessarily green infrastructure, but their level of again, I don't know what's going on at the federal level, so maybe I shouldn't
Right.
speak to that, but in our past experience, they have abided by whatever executive orders or directives are in place for paving or other types of projects.
So we don't have control or a say in how the stormwater is managed in the design? Could we ask can the town
Yeah,
say
we
we
could-
want to incorporate green infrastructure design in the management of stormwater at the site?
Yeah, I'm saying yes, we can ask that question, and I would defer to Huntley that the commission make that request to, not only the consultant, but FAA as part of that. And Huntley, I don't know if you know the answer to that. I know we had talked about it a little bit we were seeking the other grant for the charging. That was definitely part of, that was a slightly different program, so that was going to be part of when we were trying to piggyback the charging stations and the parking lot upgrade as part of that project. So we were in more, not to say more in control, but the scope was driven by what we were requesting from the grant. But this one, again, we'll do our best to make that request.
Yeah, when this comes up for review by the Airport Commission, I will certainly make sure that our consultant knows that we want to address any kind of green infrastructure that we can with the repaving of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Well, not repaving, the paving of the parking lot, because it's all gravel. And that the proper drainage is there and so on. We have a pretty good idea of what it should look like from a previous project that we were looking at with Weston and Sampson. So yes, I will make sure that when we come in front of, and I don't know if conservation would be involved, but either planning board or whomever needs to address this repaving, that will be part of the plan. Yep.
Joanne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to stress what you just said, And that is, if we're spending, the people are spending this kind of money, I think maybe we should add some language in there, the money depending on the design the town wants. And I think the town should decide pretty quickly about what design they do want, how much green and what's required to make this the way we want our airport. So I have
We're not at that point yet.
well, okay, this is just letting you know, and the taxpayers know who are going to vote on this in the spring, what we think would be appropriate to protect our airport as well as we can, and hoping that when we're investing money, the airport will look like what the citizens of Chatham would like for it to look like. I have one more question, please, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I sort of got lost in the funding on this first item between the federal fiscal year 27 and our fiscal year 26. We're appropriating for this particular part of it the 18.7 thousand for our part of this, and does that prompt? Does that go in with the federal FY 27 expenditure, or how does that work? I didn't understand your first explanation.
Huntley, if you want me to take a stab at that. So what the chair was referring to, so this, you look at this as a phased project. So following up, I think, on Eric's question and comment. So this FY 26 request is for our fiscal year request, but this is a federal fiscal year 26 project. So their fiscal year starts in October.
Yeah.
Right, October 1. So this is the first phase, and then I believe the chair was speaking out the second phase, which would be the actual request for funding for implementation. So this is just for the design, permitting, and bidding, where we will, as the chair indicated, and you know, as Kristen has indicated, you know, request as part of the design effort, so that we look at the green infrastructure, and from that will come the more definitive estimate after the, you know, there's consensus on the concept plan effectively for the design. So if that helps, it's the second part of the project is where then, as the chair pointed out, the dollar value they're carrying for the implementation of the project, that would be a phase 2. So maybe we should have put a phase 1 and phase 2 here to make it a little more clear.
That does help explain it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Barbara, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Terry, I think you said the entire cost is going to be $2.5 million, and $2.25 is going to be paid by the FAA, and $125 is going to be paid by Chatham. Who pays the other $125?
So the state, so MassDOT Aeronautics, so that's the you know, on the traditional airport AIP projects, there were some anomalies during COVID and different funding available, but the traditional funding mix is that the feds pick up 90% of the total project costs, MassDOT picks up 5%, and then the locality picks up the remaining 5% for the entirety of the project. So,
Great, thanks.
yeah, so it's again, it's very advantageous to be in the grant program and part of the AIP project.
Good,
And
thank
we
you.
hope it doesn't change based on
Right.
what's going on in
Right,
Washington right now.
as of right now, this is what is already programmed at the federal and state level. So
Right.
hopefully it's.
Tracy, please.
I was just going to offer up anecdotally, as somebody who is a neighbor to this activity having happened before, it sounds like a lot for what is essentially, looks like just a piece of asphalt, but at every turn, when I've witnessed them doing the runways or different taxiways and spoken to them about it, it is really complex, totally different, the strategies for drainage and the actual compounds that they're using. It's not regular asphalt. It's a totally different material with all kinds of different needs. So I know it sounds like, whoa, that's a lot, but it's a whole lot of engineering that goes into each surface on an airport.
That's helpful. Thank you, Tracy. Kristen, please.
Yes, and just a clarification about my earlier question about green infrastructure being included. I was mostly concerned with the parking lot. I assume that the runway is more engineered specifically for its purpose.
Yeah, so the apron, so, there's a pre-existing SWIP and all the other requirements. So those are all aspects that go into, any pavement impervious, they're either upgrading, maintaining, or adding. So that's also part of the broader planning as well, to keep all the, meet all the EPA requirements as well. So that's, again, part of the, and the permitting, again, I know that the number does look big, but this is also covering federal permitting, so under MEPA, NEPA, federal and state permitting at the higher level as well. So that's why that number is a little bit higher than you might see if, we were doing the project totally on our own for a municipal building, but because it's in this world and some of those other additional requirements. They're not complexities, but they're just other things that need to be signed off by multiple agencies as well as part of the process.
As an unrepentant fan of Chatham Airport, I think it's essentially the deal of a lifetime that we put 5% into the development and maintenance of these infrastructure and safety, most importantly, safety projects. If we think about what it's going to cost to replace the tipping floor at the transfer station, this is a pretty good deal. Terry or Huntley, do we have any insight into what's going on in Washington, whatever that may be today, and all of this? Huntley and I had a conversation last evening about the upper air inflation building project being put on hold because the NOAA budget's been frozen. Any implications for this kind of stuff that we're aware of at this
Not that
point?
I've heard yet. I don't know. We'll, like I said, we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully the project won't get doged.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Carrie, a question for you, and I note the town manager's on as well, perhaps for Jill as well. Do we have kind of a broad sense of the prospective impact of the activity at a federal level of what may happen to projects other than this in town? And if the answer is no, then that's fine, but I've been curious about that.
So as of right now, I haven't heard anything different. We're just kind of at a standstill, waiting to hear from the government. The last, I think, email that we received was, it was basically undetermined at this time. So we're just still waiting. I know Jill's on. I don't know if she has any further information than what I have currently.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
I don't have any further information, but what our federal representatives have asked for us to do is to compile a listing of our grants and federal funding and provide it to them, which I think we're just about in the process of finishing, so that they could advocate on our behalf. But I don't have any news whether the grants will remain available or not.
Okay, and I'm sort of just thinking through projects. Obviously, we have personnel with Fish and Wildlife and things like that, but the primary project would seem to be the iron and manganese PFAS treatment facility on Training Field. That was a Biden infrastructure plan funding, I think? Is that kind of the big one, or are there others?
Yeah, I'm not really prepared to talk about that right now, but we
Okay.
can certainly get back to the FinCom with that listing. I'm not sure if we've already received funding in advance, but nonetheless, I don't want to misspeak, so let's.
Yep, no,
I'll get back to you on
I
that.
appreciate that, thank you. Okay, good. Further questions for Terry regarding the airport? Okay. Huntley, thank you. Terry, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to turn to the nomadic wanderings of the Center for Active Living, as I described it on Tuesday night. Leah, Terry, who's doing this? Terry, Leah,
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Carrie,
if I can, I'll
anybody?
just do a real quick overview. I'm gonna turn over to Leah real quickly, and then I'll go through kind of the project overview. Leah can just provide some context here again on use and things that are.
Terrific, thank you.
Advancing here. Hold on a second. Here we go. Nope. Okay, sorry about that. All right, here we go. So yeah, so again, just real quickly, Terry Whalen again, and Leah Lacrosse is here as well, for the Community Services Director. And you're right, finding a solution to the wandering project here. So again, just real quickly, you'll have Leah go over some items, CFAL use, space need highlights, and how the new proposal meets the needs. And she's got some great pictures and can talk to that. And then I can do a quick schematic design overview if for committee members or the public that's not familiar, the total project budget and implementation schedule, and questions and answers. And we can go along, and if you want to break in or do them in segments or have us run through the whole thing, we'll take your cue on that. But with that, I'll turn it over to Leah.
Leah and or Terry and or Carrie or somebody, could we just get a quick summary of where the select board is on this? Have they voted?
Yes, so they voted on Tuesday.
Tuesday night, I think?
Yep, all in favor. $5 million use of free cash for this.
Okay, that's helpful context, thank you.
You're welcome.
Leah, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think last time we spoke for the budget presentation, I shared these numbers with you, but just to recap, in 2024, we had just over 1,400 members, or 23% of Chatham's year-round population of 6,600 plus. And the total program sign-ins were 4,519. So those 1,400 plus members came to program a total of 4,519 times. So we've grown. I used 2022 because that's when I started here. And when I started, we had those 5 positions that you can see. And now here we are in 2025, and we've grown. We have all the same, except for now we've added an adult behavioral health clinician. We have a day program director and the 2 program aides. So we've grown to meet the need, and we're pretty tight in there, but we're doing it well.
Leah, am I correct in understanding that the 2 program aides are each half-time positions?
They are each half-time positions, yes. They are both 16 hours a week.
Okay,
So they're only there when the day program is running.
Thank you.
And that's all. So this, I think, really says all that I would like to get across today, and that is, this is one of 2 of our program spaces on the left. And as you can see, if you're looking from the door, when it's empty, it looks huge. And it does. When I'm there and I'm looking at it and it's empty, it looks huge. But as you can see, the picture on the right during our New Year's luncheon that we had, and as I said before, that is apple cider in the glasses. That is nothing else. So just so you know. But that is less than 20 people in the same room right there. So if that gives you an idea. And as you can see in both pictures, that pole that's there that obstructs, it looks like it's nothing, but like adding another table in there to be able to have more people. And as you can imagine, our lunches are our most popular program. And we always have to cut them off at a certain number in order to fit in there. So I hope that gives you a really good idea. On the left is our second program. That's our media lounge on the second floor. And again, it looks nice and big. And it is when it's empty. But if you look to the right here, this is 15 people in the room for a bingo game. So you can see how tight it becomes. You have Anna in the background, our programs coordinator, standing on a table just to get a picture of the group for the newsletter. And what makes this room so inefficient right now is the 2, you can see the slanted ceilings in there. So we can only use, if I can step away a little bit here, but from here to here, and that's it. I didn't see.
If you move that way to the right.
Wait, there it is. Okay, thank you, Terry. So unusable space, the usable space is only between here and here. And still not going, there we go, there and there. Today, we had the heat go off in the dining room and is being fixed, so we had to move the day program upstairs, and we had to put barriers hanging from the ceiling on either side of there so that none of the participants would wander towards there and hit their head. So those are our two program spaces, our usable program spaces that we have right now. So the need for this expansion, not expansion, but renovation is great. We think those rooms can be, that room can be great with space if the dormers are, if the room is adjusted to meet the needs. This is the lower level. This is the basement, and this is not a pretty picture or two. But it is what it is. Right now, that's our storage space. And there's quite a lot of room down there. But because you see, if you could see all the lolly columns to the left here, and if you see in the picture all the way to the right, the same columns in the sagging ceiling, it's not fit for use for programming right now. Even though you see the beautiful wooden floors in what used to be the exercise room, it's completely unusable right now. That whole lower level there and could be where you see the chairs in the middle. When Terry gets into the design plans, that would be where new restrooms would be put in. We cannot use that space downstairs because legally we have to have restrooms down there, and there are none. So there would be two restrooms there. Those columns would be removed. The ceiling would be raised slightly. The airflow would be much better, and would be able to have that entire lower level for the day program space. There's an accessible walkout basement that walks right into where the drop-off would be. And it would, with those three, even just those three moves and expanding the use of the dining room, expanding the footprint of the dining room, we would have a fully functional Center for Active Living. And now comes the rest of Terry's presentation, but are there any questions on that at all? No? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leah. Terry, over to you, please.
Thanks, yeah, I'll stay here. And Leah might want to, again, if you have questions on how the proposal, ties into programming, Leah can attest to or provide much more information on that as she worked closely with the architect on how it works with the programming. So again, some of you may or may not have seen this, but this is basically the revised schematic concept plan that was endorsed by the select board, and just what Leah was going through, just some, so here in the, setting the stage, if you will, for, expanding the building and reconstructing the building, these structural elements that are kind of big barriers to providing really usable space. So these are just showing that, so this is the existing footprint of the basement area. So in the red area is indicating what's, the main structural components here that will be addressed to help meet the needs. Again, it carries through on the main level or the first floor here as well with the column, and Leah was showing the picture in the dining room. So that's kind of the foundation, if you will, for the jumping off point to make much greater improvements here. And then again, as Leah pointed out, some of the constrictions with the roof and some other aspects that I'll go through shortly here as well with some of the expansion. So these plans show, so the yellow here is showing expanded area. So, and again, the charge or the overriding design directive here was to minimize expanding the footprint and doing it very strategically as Leah, as we're talking about the basement level here, to accommodate the adult supportive day program. And then Leah mentioned the addition of the bathrooms here, which are not here now, to support that. And clearly you can see the multi-purpose rooms, the dashed lines indicating the structural beams in here. That would make that free and clear. We are also, a key component here to improve the usability or serviceability down here would also be integrating window wells for the lower level to get more light in the building. And, you know, some benefits, you'll see probably these expansions are driven more by what's happening up top, but, you know, some storage. As you can see, there was a lot of materials there needing storage. So they would gain 2 storage rooms here. And I'm going to transition to the next level, the new egress stairs. So that's something, if you're familiar at all with the building, on the western elevation there, it's basically, you know, a wooden deck structure that's leaves a lot to be desired. It's open to the weather. So, and with the code changes, you know, as we're increasing, you know, getting into the building, the dollar values, you know, trigger the need for developing the fire egress stairs. So that's kind of, you know, through all 3 levels. You know, it's somewhat found space underneath, but the egress stairs for this first floor and the second floor carry through. As Leah mentioned as well, with we're able to expand the multi-purpose room a little bit, get some square footage here. So this building would, excuse me, this room would, you know, as Leah mentioned, is their most highest volume or attendance room. And as part of, you know, meeting ADA and other code requirements, a slight reworking of the vestibule here, associated ramps from the parking lot, improving access to the building, additional handicap parking right next to the building, and there again be some storage here. There's also a reconfiguration of the office space here, again, to address some of the numbers I believe that Leah had pointed out for changes in staff. So that we were able to accommodate, or I shouldn't say we were, the designer and Leah were able to come up with a good solution here that we didn't need to do a footprint expansion and finding workable space along those lines. And Leah, you know, if I'm misspeaking, just chime in. And again, here's the second floor. So with the access stair requirement driving some of this, there's an opportunity again to add a new office, again along the lines of matching the current staffing needs. There's also a reconfiguring of the existing, basically it's a former lounge type of location, so that would be yet another smaller multi-purpose room. The addition of dormers in the existing activity room that Leah had the pictures of the computer training. So again, a little minimal bump out here, but to get headspace, and a similar functionality over on the eastern side of the building as well. And then in concert with a reconfiguration of the space. If you've ever been over there for a meeting with the COA Board of Directors, it's a somewhat limiting room for that.
Can I add something
Sure.
to that, Terry? Sorry, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, just, or you can.
I just want to add while we're on the screen, so that little space across from the activity room that is a new multipurpose room, that is actually right now my office. I had to move from downstairs to upstairs to accommodate the new staff on the main level. Also, to the far right, what was our conference room, we had to give up that conference room to make an office to accommodate new staff as well. So that's our public office. So when we have our shine counselors, when we have attorneys come in, or the VNA nurse, that's where they meet in that private office now. So we don't have a conference room. There's no employee break room. There's nothing like that. And the day program on Tuesdays and Thursdays takes up the dining room for the day. So the only program space we have on those days is the upstairs. So we've had to postpone or limit any programs on Tuesdays and Thursdays to accommodate. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. And again, she's very well versed in all the again, how obviously the programming will interface here with the proposed changes. And with again, just for some quick, sense of what, the changes are. So with the minimal expansions, let me get this now. So if you remember the yellow areas, so we're looking from Stony Hill towards the front of the facility. So to the left is the west, western facing here. So we have, this is new, minimal, the new dormer here, the reconfigured entryway. So those are the general areas of expansion, how they look in the elevation view. So again, looking at it from behind the building, this is where where the egress stairs would be. So again, undercover, not a wooden surface, not exposed to the weather for exit or egress in an emergency. And this one again kind of shows. So we're looking from the what would be the current sloped parking lot. So there's you can see a ramp here, primarily to serve the access to the kitchen area and special events. And again, this space now is basically enclosing the emergency egress stairs. And if you looked at any of the staff reports from the previously presentations for the select board, so here's just a summary chart that shows we had the architect just do a quick analysis on the gross area square foot breakdown. So to the left block of the chart here, we've got the existing gross floor area, breaking it down by usable area, and then area devoted to code required access and egress. He did a breakdown as well as the area that was added, and then the total, where we wind up with the end of the day with the building. So if you recollect, I believe we were at about 10,165 for 1610. So we're sort of in the same ballpark with the gross floor area, with minimal, a 22% increase in area, and with only, and this is again over 3 levels, so 2,000 square feet. So again, modest. Or qualified as modest, but a minimal area for the designer was able to find some great adjacencies working with Leah and economies in the reconfiguration without having to expand further. And that leads me to the site plan here. As you probably all know, this site is very constrained too. So we're trying to balance parking and the design additions here, and actually this graphic shows it probably better than I just explained it, with the the front addition and the other additions here. So the proposal here is to basically formalize and build out the parking. So if you're familiar with the existing site on the eastern side here, there's a grass area, but basically we'd be capturing all of that area and formalizing parking so that you're maximizing the parking, be leveling off in the front here, actually introducing parking in the front. And the end of the day, while there's 22 spaces that are existing, there's more on the site, but it's not formalized. So at the end of the day, we're looking at 47 spaces and improved locations for handicap parking. The bus circulation here, so with and I think I failed to mention the basement access for the adult supportive day program would be down here. So with the bus drop off, and again, maybe not the easiest movement here, but this would be marked as a bus zone, so that, and they did check to make sure that the buses that they use can make this movement to do a drop off and then head back out. So that's kind of a new element too, that making that, and I think I probably need to go back to that because and I apologize I missed that, with at the basement level here, you can see we have a very formalized entrance, ADA accessible, smooth, and then, meeting the surface requirements. And then also, from above it here, you can see that it also has this portico and roof as well for the clients using the supportive daycare. And this, and then if you want to stop there on the design, then we can talk about the budget, or I can just go through a couple more slides and we can take all kinds of questions, but we can go through the design
Yeah, so
elements.
why don't we take some questions on the design before we tuck into the budget? Tracy, to begin?
Not necessarily a question, but an observation as somebody who had really hoped that we would have gotten you something more substantial in previous iterations. Just in case folks that are watching or other board members aren't really familiar with the existing space, I think that the photos that you showed were overly generous in terms of the space. As having been in the space and trying to be present during luncheons or functions, that made it look much more usable than it really is. And so I'm glad to see that there's at least some modest increase in the spaces that you have. Is there still no access for someone from up to the third level that is handicapped?
From the outside, do you mean?
Or from the inside?
We have the elevator.
Right, okay.
Yes, so we still have the elevator.
In the same
Yes,
location? Okay.
yes.
I just wasn't sure. I hadn't seen it.
It would be updated in this.
Correct, yeah,
Yes.
modernization. So the elevator would be basically rebuilt, the shaft and the components, not the working components would be upgraded as part of this project as well.
Great.
That's needs to be done every 30 to 35 years anyway, as normal practice.
Barbara, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My sister got the spatial relations gene in our family, so I'm just wondering, is there room for the bus to turn around when it gets in there and come back out? It doesn't have to back out?
It doesn't have to back out. That
Okay.
was one thing that they tested right in there.
Great.
Right, so that's why they marked it as bus zone here, so that, to discourage any parking so that they could make their movement out of there and come up the hill face up.
I see that Selectman Castro has his hand up, but let me go to Kristen first, please.
So questions again about stormwater management. I don't know what level we're at with design, but if that's going to be incorporated, and do we need 48 spaces, 44 spaces, whatever, 47 spaces? Trying to minimize, I would hate to see this be a sea of asphalt
Sure.
from an appearance standpoint, never mind a functional standpoint. So anyway, curious at what
Yeah, no,
level
we
we're
could,
at
we
with
can
that.
look at that, so we don't have the design yet, but we will be looking at that. That is something, in this iteration, we didn't have funding to do the strong concept. We would normally have an engineering design. If you did catch the select board meetings last night, or Tuesday night, excuse me, the town manager, we are looking at maybe accelerating that design. So we've had some discussion around the edges about impervious pavement or other, and there were some comments about that. Yeah, so definitely, this is maximizing for pavement. So whatever, but we have had some discussion about maybe incorporating some impervious pavement here, at least on the western side. Maybe we can do it here. So that can be part of our discussion as well, if we,
Thank
and
you.
look at the
And along the
cost.
same lines of do we know what the expectations are for energy usage? Are we doing solar panels, and, are we making an effort to be?
Yeah, well, we need to do that for, part of our analysis with chapter 35, I think, of the bylaw that was passed. So we will do that as part of analysis. As we've been doing we'll look at opportunities to do that through other grant programs. Once we do that, in this case, we're sort of, I don't want to say it's limited, but, we're sort of, you're constrained somewhat by the configuration and orientation of the building, but we'll look at that and take care of any take advantage of any programs that we can do that, hopefully either through CVAC or Cape Light Compact with little to no cost to the town, and being a host type of thing. And other components, electrification of the building and any other incentives that we can take advantage. So we do need to do that now as part of, that narrative on, I believe it's chapter 35 of the Chatham's bylaw for capital projects.
I see that Tracy's got her hand up, but let me just jump over to Selectman Nacastro, in case Dean has something.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have some comments, but I'll defer them until after the committee members have completed their comments and questions. I just wanted to suggest that it might be helpful, because I don't think we saw a slide on this, to show Terry the slide that depicts the front of the building as designed, because I think it's a rather pretty site. That would be helpful for the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Of course. Tracy, please.
I was just going to ask Leah if she wanted to comment on parking, because I know that it has been quite an issue when there are special events where all the cars are going to go, and if that was part of the desire to increase the number of actually designated spots, and if that was going to be sufficient.
Yes, thank you for that question. We do need increased parking for sure. If we have one program going on, all the parking spaces are full. When we have multiple, as it's now, the staff have to, every day, we park on the grass median in between. So where the condos are in the back of the building, you pull in this driveway and it loops around. We park in the middle on the median, which we don't really have a choice for the parking. We also, if we do have plenty of days that there's multiple programs going on, and then it's completely full. Also, in our, Terry, if you don't mind, to the parking lot, I just want to illustrate. If you see,
Tell me where you want to point.
okay, by number 5, if you could. So those spaces right there, 3 of those top spaces belong to the condo, and they say visitor on there. And if any of our participants park in there, they'll get a note on their window asking them please not to. So some of those spaces belong to, even though it looks like we have plenty, some of them belong to the condominium, and same thing on the opposite side as well. So, and where number 7 is, I think, Terry, right? This is in the middle, yes. So they do have, some of those are their designated spots.
Yeah, and if I could just speak to the broader question of need too. So that's something, for the program space, which is comparable to the space needs program. We were over 60 some odd spaces, even with 1610, we were cutting that down. So that's, for the activity level, that's the need that's been identified. And then, I don't know if Lee, if you mentioned, or if there are multiple concurrent events or high expected events that, similar to even other proposals, that there might need to be shuttling or off-site parking.
Yes.
to accommodate the need there. So that could be things, parking at DPW isn't that far away for shuttle bus pickup that they could incorporate into their programming. So that's, again, there's some trade-offs with staying on this site. You can't maximize convenient parking, but it's gonna hit a lot of, and again, I would not dare to put a percentage on it, but this will hit, probably a lot of the programming, but on larger programming events, special events, they're most likely gonna need to do off-site shuttling or encourage carpooling and all of those types of things.
Yes, and I apologize, Tracy, because you did ask that specifically for special events, and I didn't address that. We've had a good relationship with the Shark Center, and so if we have a special event like an open house or an art show or something like that where we're expecting a lot, the staff, the board members, volunteers, they park at the Shark Center and actually walk up, which is not a bad walk at all. But that's where we park to allow for everybody to use the spaces.
John, please.
Just curious, this design, what's the capacity of the building?
We have those, don't we?
Yeah, I don't have that handy from the code capacity perspective. I don't know if I have that handy right here, but
I do remember
Leah.
Kurt addressing that at the select board meeting, and right now, the maximum, like, for instance, in our dining room, the maximum that we can have, and it's super, super tight, is 30, and he did talk about the possibility of 55 to 60 in the dining room.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we can get you those numbers for the entire
Yes.
entire building. Yeah, again, I think the focus was on the multi-purpose rooms, Kurt's response, but we can get that from the code calculation from the architect.
Yes. Yeah, well, I don't think we got the total capacity to
Yeah,
answer your
good-
question.
Good question, but Kurt will have it because he.
All right, good. Further questions from the committee? If not, we'll turn it over to Selectman Nacastro. Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Terry, did we have that picture that I was referring to? The front of the building from the street?
Yep, we have it up right now.
Okay, all right, I see it. That's what it's ideally will look like. And I think it looks a lot better than it does now. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I obviously support this. I will take the credit or the blame, whatever people want to throw at me, for instigating this back in the early summer of last year after 1610 failed. But I'm not here to advocate to you on what to do. That's your call. I just wanted to tell you that as was mentioned earlier, the select board unanimously voted to put this on the warrant with $5 million coming from free cash. And the other night, one of our members was away. And let me just briefly address the free cash. If we didn't have the $11 million available in free cash, I would be supporting this with a borrowing. It is not my intention to support free cash because I want to avoid a 2/3 vote. And I don't think that's the position of any member of the select board. But the money's there. This is an important project that has been, as the chairman said, your chair says, wandering around for a decade. I've been liaison to the Council on Aging Board for 10 years. I just wanted to tell you some of the things that drive me to support this proposal. And I'm speaking just for myself. First of all, let me commend our staff, the town manager, Terry and Leah, and our outside consultant, Kurt Raber, for the job that they did. And I know that Leah especially worked very closely with Kurt to identify what the program services and needs were so that he could re-engineer this building to accommodate it. I think that this proposal is going to improve ADA compliance, and there are numerous safety enhancements and privacy enhancements that are in this proposal. We're getting rid of ceiling obstructions. There goes the telephone. Let me just, I'm sure it's a stray call. Sorry about that. So the if any of you remember on the second, when you toured the building, I think some time ago, on the second floor, there was what used to be a meeting room for the Council on Aging Board, but you couldn't fit too many people in there because you'd bump your head on the ceilings. So those are going to be removed, those difficulties. The lolly columns are being eliminated, and we're getting larger use of these program rooms, additional parking to accommodate the needs of the programs and services. And I think overall it's a very effective and reasonable use of this space on property that the town currently owns. And the price of it is half of what we were asking town meeting to approve for 1610 Main Street, and for and it was more expensive also, not quite half, twice the cost over on Middle Road some years ago. So there's a lot to be said for this. It's not ideal. I supported 1610 Main Street. It didn't pass, as everybody knows, and I think the town really needs to bring this to a resolution. And those are the things that, some of the things that drive me to be frankly very excited about this proposal. Again, just speaking for myself. But if anybody has any questions from the perspective of the select board, I'd be happy to answer them. We also have, I don't think much was said about this, but there is a very good plan that Leah has worked out with Jill and Terry and Amy Howell, who is the deputy in charge of the community center, to have a transitional program and plan to accommodate the time it's going to take to do construction in this building. And it's a very tight construction schedule, and hopefully it can be met. And so we'll see where this goes. I just really wanted to offer those comments, and I'm available if there are any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate that. Eric?
My question is actually not for Dean, but for Leah and Terry. So on the construction timeframe, using the community center, so are there costs associated with that, and are those baked into the number that we're looking at?
Terry, do you want to?
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the, as Selectman Nicastro just, Select Board Member Nicastro just referenced the tight, aggressive schedule here. So so I'm just pointing that out first, in that, lays out this tight schedule and is very heavily dependent on the temporary relocation and the great work that Leah and Amy have done on accommodating that. But even though we're saving a lot of costs there from earlier projections we had in temporary relocation, we are carrying $150,000 for temporary relocation in the budget, and we bumped up some of the contingencies to, if there's a need, and we're thinking there's going to be need to rent trailer space in particular, not for programming space, but for office accommodations, so that we're not maybe doubling or tripling up office space in the community center. So, and then also carrying dollars for maybe other fit up, or you might remember, Eric, from, the move and with the temporary relocation associated with the construction of this building, different IT needs that come up, and those types of things. So we have a line item in there in the budget, and I can go to that and point that out as well. So actually it's kind of hard to see in here, but we do have in the $150,000 broken out in here for the temporary relocation, for IT furnishings. Maybe there's some items, desks or things that make the transition or implementation of the programs to minimize disruption on the citizens, different equipment, and trailer rentals in particular. We bumped that up a little bit based on some comments and digging into it a little more deeply over some of our earlier presentations, where we're probably really going to need to consider that. But it's not as expensive as, I know there was a comment last night about some of the values we were carrying before, but for temporary relocation, when we looked at a scenario of basically a, kind of a swipe and replace on site, but we were carrying basically program space as well in that. So this is just, so this number is not as high as that number because we do have a shorter, we've got about, we're hoping, 9-10 month construction schedule. That was a longer construction schedule, and we're not using trailers for, we're not envisioning using trailers for programming space and everything that comes along with the ramping and everything for that. So we're more confident in this number, but, we won't know exactly until we dig into it, and that's why we did bump up these contingencies a little bit, and then even with the select board vote of the, when we looked at the revised budget, and then bumping the total total annual town meeting article request to 5 million to hopefully, cover any of those unanticipated items that we might run into. So that's, with the best, but like I said, if Leah can talk more about how that might happen. But again, I think with the work that they've done, and their plan on how to accommodate this has really shaved over our earlier estimates on what temporary relocation might cost.
All right, thank you, Terry. Joanne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been a long time coming, and Leah, you have done a great job at presenting the people of Chatham with a place for their seniors that we can be proud of, and we've needed that for a number of years now, and this seems to fit the compromise, to me, that everyone's been looking for. And thank you for your efforts in managing to put something together that will provide for our needs, our seniors' needs, and yet is acceptable as far as the cost for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, further comments or questions? Barbara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very excited about this aggressive schedule of construction. Do we really have hope that it could happen?
Yes.
Yeah, and if you
We
want,
do.
I could speak to this a little bit more too. So and this goes to the benefits of doing the free cash article as well, has benefits for us to be able to accelerate items to make this happen and to meet our very tight schedule here. So for in the early parts here, now that we have a project that's on the warrant, we're basically going to be putting out RFQs as soon as probably early next week, maybe even Monday or Tuesday morning, to get the designer and the OPM on board, as we're required to with projects over $1.5 million, to get that going. And as I mentioned, we're having some internal discussions of maybe accelerating some of the design work for the site plan, so that we have better numbers and confidence as we get closer to going out to bid, so that as soon as, so we might have some money to start even earlier now, but then if the town meeting approves it, basically the next morning or the next, because we're on Saturday, but on Monday morning, we'll be going into full-on design here to meet that target of having the project out to bid in July, and then have the contract issued, in August here, and start construction hopefully as early as mid-August to first week in September, and then run the 9 to 10 months, and then have the occupancy. So that's our schedule. But the free cash article, factors in here as well, with having that, not having to wait to July 1, is helping us to implement this schedule. But there's going to be a lot of work up front here, even well in advance of town meeting, to get a lot of these pieces going as quickly as we can, and then ready to go literally upon approval to go full speed ahead. So that's if that's hopefully puts some more context on this schedule. But it is dense. But that's a key component here of us, where we're hopeful that we're going to do everything we can to make this happen as quickly as possible, so we don't add another year of escalation and costs and those types of things to do this while we have the momentum, and to just keep it moving and get it done. And so that, not that I don't like coming here, but hopefully I never have to come back for the Council on Aging or Center for Active Living at future meetings.
So we will clear our calendars for June 12th, 2026.
Right, and that date is also to not
soft opening.
conflict, because again, our overriding desire here too is to minimize with the, and Lee can speak to this more, but with the program, the summer programming at the community center for the probably their biggest programming with the summer, I don't know the name of the program, but the kids program.
The kids program, and that's why we've timed this. Terry and Kurt have been so great in listening to our needs and the needs at the community center, because it's so important to us that we don't interfere with the camp program over there in the summertime. Too many people depend on that. So we're hoping to be out before the kids get in, and to move in right after they leave, and to get out before they come back. That's our hope. It may not happen, but we're, as Dean said, that Amy and I are meeting with our entire staff. We're already meeting bi-weekly, but starting in March, we're meeting weekly. And we have a whole agenda schedule of what we're tackling for each meeting and what we're trying to resolve with each meeting. The staff has come together, they're on board. they're actually excited to have the opportunity to work together in a building. And so we're trying to look at the positives in all this, and we're gonna come up with a contingency plan if it does go after, but, the Amy has been fantastic, and the staff there of making us feel welcome and saying, if it has to go longer, we're gonna work it out. So it's really been, it's been nice, so,
Good. Thank you, Leo.
thank you.
Andy?
I'm hoping, Terry, that you've already thought about the permits that are necessary for this and the kind of timeline that may be required for those approvals.
Yeah, so that's why we're trying to, again, get a handle on those, bake those in the early part before we even issue that's why we really need to get the OPM on board, but we're really looking at, we don't have any jurisdictional, wetlands jurisdictional permits, so whatever requirements are for site plan review, this is not in the HBDC, to the best of my understanding, so, basically, a site plan review if warranted, determined, and basically building permit. So, and that's why the benefit of having, the architects who are skilled in that, what needs to be addressed. And again, it's sort of already in here so that we shouldn't have any surprises with and that's why I was pointing out the egress stairs in particular, that those considerations have already been looked at in the concept, so that there's really, the framework for the filing and the development of the bid packages. So we get that going ASAP as soon as we're ready to file.
No, thank you. No, I felt confident somebody had thought of it, but I had to ask.
Yeah, no, it's great to ask, and as you see that when the schedule here, there's a lot going on. So that's and it's not reflected in here, but that's definitely our within our plans here so that when we go out to bid, everything's permitted, and basically, it has to be to start construction, on this schedule.
Eric, please.
This might be a question for Jill from a process standpoint. So in the scenario that this goes to town meeting and passes and the free cash concept is approved for the project and X amount is approved, if the bids come in high, what would be the process following that? Do you, Jill, have the ability to just use more free cash, or how does that work?
Maybe I'll try and Jill can jump in. So we're as part of, as we've been talking in developing the bid specs and probably going to have a lot of alternates and options in here too, and opportunities for value engineering, and we're going to try to, basically not go over the 5 million. There might be some opportunities here and there for the site plan, the site or paving, piggybacking on other town contracts. But we're going to do everything we can to get as much as we can under that $5 million. If we do need to come back for more money and we had to stop the project, then that would be challenging from the perspective of, pushing back the project, escalation, and all of those types of things. So to meet this schedule, it would be hard to come back. I'm just speculating, if we're not getting the bids until July, to have a special town meeting, say, to ask for additional money between basically in the last week of July, first week of August, would be that alternative. But we're hoping we're not going to have to go there.
So just for the sake of clarity, I just want Carrie to weigh in on the specifics of Eric's question of, can we spend more money beyond what town meeting is authorized for the project? The short answer is no, but Carrie?
Yes, that's correct. So if it does go over, which we're anticipating that it's not going to go over, and we do have some other fundings from other things for like the design and engineering, and we might have other funds for the paving and stuff like that. But if it does go over 5 million, we would have to go back to town meeting. And that's just we can't spend more than what's approved.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on that. Okay, further questions? All right. Well, I'm somehow in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about a Winston Churchill quote about hope. There's a lot of hope being expressed here. I hope this all works out. As I think I said I know I said on Tuesday night, this committee has been broadly supportive of, without the specifics of this approach. I think we think it addresses some of the concerns expressed by town meeting over the 3 trips to the plate so far. So hopefully the 4th time is a charm and we can get this done. So, Leah, thank you.
Thank you.
Terry, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then I think we're gonna go, we wanna do some little article work. What do we wanna do? I note I have to be a little cautious because,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks. Carrie, I mean, I know there's some articles in the package, but I don't necessarily see clarity around the agenda for discussion on some of these articles. So I wonder if we're not safer tabling these for the moment? If we get a judicial
Well, it's up to you. I
interpretation?
didn't put details in the packet. I just put the ones that the select board has already approved.
Yep.
For
I'm happy to
warrant.
consider them. I'm mindful of not violating the open meeting law, since there's no specifics on the agenda regarding article discussion for manual warrant or
I'm
whatever.
pretty sure we put it on to vote. Oh, it's probably not on this one. Let me go look. Hold on one second.
Yeah, no, mine ends with Center for Active Living and then optimistically adjourn.
Hold on.
John, please?
The online agenda does have vote on warrant articles.
Yeah, see, I thought I put it on. I printed an old one. So-
Okay, I've got bad information. All right, good. All right, well, what do you want to tuck into? OPEB?
Sure. I know that Joanne had asked for what is it, the score, she asked for something, the scorecard or the estimated tax rate. We are still currently working through that. So I'd hate to give you something that is not ultimately completed yet. But I do have figures for, like, obviously the amounts, if there was like for the ambulance, it would be 3 cents on the tax rate. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, I think ultimately what we would like to see is what I think you kindly provided us last year at our request, which is just a summary of kind of the cost of all of these independent warrant articles. So I wouldn't expect that would be ready presently, because we're just beginning the process
Okay.
in some respects.
Mr. Chair,
Please,
the reason I ask for that is that I would find it difficult to vote on an article without knowing the ultimate cost. Would I vote on that article and not on another because of the tax rate?
Right, so I
and
think
what we're asking for?
Understood. So I think the guideline that it has to kind of guide us until this is all finalized is essentially a penny on the tax rate raises $100,000. So if we have a $300,000 ambulance, it's going to be 3 cents. If we've got a $3 million project, it's going to be 30 cents. But that'll presumably be debt funded, and it'll be amortized over time, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
But I think that's how, without having the certainty yet, that's how we really need to think about some of these things.
Okay. So do we want to vote on some of these? Do you want to, I don't want to.
So some of these things are pretty straightforward. We've seen them before. I think if we can dispense them, I'm happy to do that. But if
Okay.
there's some reservation, the committee wants these things to marinate, I'm happy to marinate. Go for it.
All right, so we have other post-employment benefits, which is the OPEB liability trust appropriation in the amount of $150,000. And this is funded through the overlay surplus, which was approved by the Board of Assessors.
Okay. Motion to support the $150,000 annual OPEB allocation from the overlay surplus?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Andy's got the second. Tommy, in support?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Home run, 9-0.
Okay.
Next. Fire Department ambulance?
Fire Department ambulance, this is in the amount of $410,000.
So roughly 4 cents on the tax rate.
Right, or 3 cents, yep. Roughly 4 cents.
Roughly. Do you want to tell us anything about this?
The fire department has requested the purchase of a new ambulance in the amount of $410,000. This is for obviously, they purchase via ambulance typically every 6 to 7 years within approximately 100,000 miles of time on it. Let's see. What else do we got on here?
Expected delivery of,
Expected delivery date is August of 2027 because it's been taking a long time for them to build the ambulances. So we still have one that was previously approved and we're still waiting on delivery for that one. So hence we still need to make sure that we have these in our fleet.
Andy,
Move this article.
Andy, thank you, Andy. Second?
Second.
Okay, Andy circulated to me last week, earlier this week, a really interesting article from
New York Times.
New York Times regarding the consolidation, essentially the private equity-driven consolidation of the fire truck and ambulance manufacturing capacity in this country. And we've gone from a large number of regional players and a couple of national players to, I think, 3 now national players. And the resulting, one of the results of it, quite apart from special dividends to the the limited partners, is an extraordinary wait time for new ambulances and fire equipment. 3, 4, 5 years in some cases, since everyone is essentially custom designed and custom built. So I think this is prudent for us to stay ahead of that curve, and if we're still waiting for one we approved a couple of years ago, I think it'd be smarter thinking for us to move on this. So we've got a motion. Joanne, I think you
I have a
question,
question.
please.
Tell me again why that is, we don't consider leasing for these large vehicles?
I don't know why they don't consider leasing, but I wouldn't consider it because they put too many miles on them is probably why they don't consider leasing.
I wonder if there's even a leasing program available for
I don't know.
specialty
I mean,
equipment like that.
essentially, they're being custom built
Yeah.
according to
Yeah.
whatever the individual fire department's requirements are, right? So
Yeah.
makes
Didn't we,
heard of anybody
didn't we
leasing
lease
an ambulance.
a fire truck at one time? Like the large one? Anybody remember that but me?
No.
I do remember
Sorry.
the chief saying that they had looked into leasing before, and both he and Jill had said that it never seemed to work out, that financially and otherwise, it was best to purchase.
Okay,
I
thank you.
didn't get further details.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the questions or discussion on the proposed article. If not, we'll take a vote. Tommy Doan.
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yep.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chairs in favor, 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our annual allocation for dredging in the amount of
Annual
$400,000.
allocation, yep.
Gary?
For, this is for raise and appropriate $400,000 for the purchase of paying costs related to dredging within Chatham's waterways, including costs for engineering, permitting, and construction. This is an annual request.
Second?
Second.
Comments or questions? If not, Tommy Doan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John? Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chair support, 9-0. Child Care Voucher Program.
Child Care Voucher Program, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $175,000 to fund the Chatham Child Care Voucher Program through taxation. This article seeks funds for the Chatham Child Care Voucher Program currently administered by a third party. Funding approved for an FY 2024 annual town meeting, which was $125,000. So this is, they're increasing their funding by $50,000 for FY 2026. Sorry, that should actually say 2025. I gotta fix that. It's a good thing these are drafts.
All right, motion to support,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All right, comments, questions for Gary? All right, Tommy, support.
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chairs in favor, 9-0. Establish a revolving fund in the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, E and a half, Only the state of Massachusetts could come up with section E and a half. It's like Hogwarts. Writers Cove Respite Adult Supportive Day Program. Sorry, Carrie.
That's okay. It's okay, I get it. So this actually doesn't require any funding, so there's no implication to the tax rate. We went over this during the presentation. Would be new funds to the town, and this is the time to actually set up a revolving fund for the respite program. And the spending limit would be $50,000 for the first year.
So this whole purpose would be to segregate these funds and dedicate them to the ongoing
Adult
payment of
program. Yep.
relative to, and these funds would be what individuals pay to participate in the program?
Yes,
at some
so
level?
the fees that would be charged to participate in the program would go into here. Yep. Program fees.
Andy, question, please?
And Carrie, we currently have people paying for this, right?
The program that we have right now is funded through a grant.
Okay, so the participants pay nothing?
I don't think they pay anything. I don't know if Jill knows that, but I don't think they're paying right now.
Really?
Oh, yes, I think they do.
Well, they pay
If
for
they go
the
to Orleans, they pay.
Orleans, they pay,
I
yes.
think it's $60 a day.
I do, well, I think we better check on that because I do think they're have to pay.
Well, let's put that on our list. I mean, clearly, setting up a
There's no
revolving fund
funds.
anticipates that there's going to be revenue coming into it from the participants.
Right.
Correct.
Start paying for this.
That's what it's for, I think.
It's for new money coming into the town. So
Right, and if
hence-
somebody's, presumably if somebody's paying now, it's just going into the general fund.
If somebody is paying, I don't think Jill's online. They pay towards the Orleans program. This is a new program by the town. Right now, it's currently funded through the grant.
But if somebody is attending at Chatham CFL.
Why don't, we'll put it on the list. Let's get an answer.
Oh, Dean's here.
I'm guessing that it goes to the general fund. If-
Dean
Well,
Dean has
Dean's
something.
hand is up. Let's see if,
I think that the new, it just started. like
she's back.
A few weeks ago.
Oh.
So I
good.
think that payments are coming in at $75 or whatever it is. I assume they're going into the general fund. I don't know if this article would apply retroactively to segregate those funds, insert those funds into the special account. I suspected the intention is that it do so.
well, we have, Leah just walked into the room. So why don't we, thank you, Dean, but why don't we turn to the expert? Hi, Leah, welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much. So which question can I ask? Can I answer for you all?
Is there anybody currently paying a fee for the daycare program?
Yes,
For the respite
And who
program.
do
the
they pay
respite
it?
program,
And
yes.
to whom do they pay it?
So actually, we haven't received payment yet. We've only sent out for our first billing cycle. So we were, to be honest with you, what we were going to do was bring that to you when the payment's received.
Okay, so in other words, it's going to be payable to the town of Chatham.
Correct.
And presumably Carrie is going to put it into
A new
general fund.
General fund until town meeting.
Until town meeting, yes.
Okay, that was all.
Okay,
was
I didn't
my
think
only
they were
question.
paying yet.
That was easy, yeah.
I thought it was funded through the grant.
No, they're still paying, and it would, but we haven't received any payment yet.
Okay, well, that makes sense then.
Well, hopefully you were upstairs, otherwise that would be the fastest trip between Stony Hill Road and
Chair's talking out
ever
there.
And
experienced.
we were just talking out there, so. Any other questions I can
Well,
answer?
Kristen has a question, please.
Yes, thank you. Just for clarification, so the grant we received last year was for the staff, to cover the staffing, correct?
So the grant for the first year was, the grant, I call it for the first year, the grant covered 1 year of expenses for the staff, their benefits, food, the cost of food, because we are required to provide a healthy snack and a lunch for each participant each day, and for all the program supplies, and also for the enrichment programs, like if we, field trips, that sort of thing. So that was what pays for the first year. So this revolving fund, where the town has graciously committed to paying for the staff for the program, this revolving fund, the $75 per day will go into this revolving fund, and that would pay for the food, the supplies, and the enrichment programs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's just what I wanted to clarify again.
So Leah, just a quick question pursuant to something we discussed last week and spoke to the select board about on Tuesday. In terms of kind of cost recovery rates, the $75 relative to the kind of total cost prospectively per individual, do we have a sense of what that total cost is? We add in staffing and benefits?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me.
Yep.
It will not cover the salaries.
Right.
It will, but it will, we did figures based on the number of participants and what that would cover, but the $75 per day, the way we got to that figure is that fully covers the costs of those enrichment programs and the food,
Okay, terrific. That's
all
helpful.
things being equal.
Yeah, of course. Terrific, thank you. Okay. Motion to support.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. Maybe we should get a healthy snack. Motion to support the establishment of a revolving fund for the Adult Supportive Day Program.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Tommy, support?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chair's in favor.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we got that resolved.
Water Department operating budget.
Water Department operating budget, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds $5,447,828 necessary for expenses and charges, including without limitation for the foregoing debt and interest, wages, salaries, and expenses for operation of the town water department for FY 2026. The Water Department operating budget is mainly funded through the water rates. They transfer $341,478 to the general fund for their indirect costs and overhead. And then the general fund transfers $400,000 back to the Water Department. And that is for mainly flushing of the fire hydrants.
Okay. Do we have a motion to support the Water Department operating budget?
I'll move it.
All right, Tommy got this, Tommy got it, and then Andy's on the second. Comments or questions for Carrie?
This does not constrain any future changes in water rates, right?
We are currently looking at water rates.
I know, I understand
Yes.
that. But by approving this budget, we're not constraining that future water rate.
I can't answer that question. We would need water rates approved to have this budget in place. Otherwise, we're going to be we would be using their fund balance to pay for their budget.
Okay, maybe I was chasing my tail on that.
No, I mean, it's a good question, and I guess I want to parse the answer just a little bit. You're passing this article presently would be predicated on currently existing water rates?
Yes.
So any increase in those rates, whatever the effective date, would accrue where? To the general fund?
No, their water rates.
To the
would
Water
go-
Department, I guess, rather.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
For the water.
Of course.
Yeah.
Selectman Castro has his hand up, Dean.
Well, I was about to say pretty much the same thing, Mr. Chairman. I'm the liaison to the Water and Sewer Committee. My understanding is that this amount of $5 million is predicated on the current rates, and any future increases in rates, which we do anticipate, or some kind of a realignment in rates, those funds would go back into the Water Department's general funding.
Okay, thank you. Andy, is that helpful?
No, that takes care of it. I'm not.
Good. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? There being none, Tommy, support?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John? Yes. Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yep.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chair supports, 9-0. Carries in a roll.
Okay, I think there's only a few more.
Somewhere you need to be.
No. Yes, here.
All right, Article 20, Capital, Sewer Department Capital Improvements, Repairs, and Upgrades, please.
So this is funding through the wastewater capital stabilization for $1,070,000 for the system repairs to the original sewer collection. There's $170,000 for the harbor pump station. I believe that's supposed to be new, so I gotta update that. $700,000 for the replacement of the dentification filters, air filters.
Denitrification.
Got it.
We had this issue last week.
I think I said that wrong.
I think you're back on.
I think I need sewer collection in the amount of 170, Stage Harbor pump in the amount of 700,000, and then the denitrification filters, I still got it wrong, in the amount of 200,000.
Okay.
I move to support this.
Thank you.
Second, I'll second.
Thank you. Comments or questions, Joanne, please?
Yes, now I'm at the stage where I think we should do a little talking about the tax rate again, what,
This doesn't implicate,
all?
this is funded through the wastewater capital stabilization fund, so there's funds already in there. There's
Okay.
about $4.9 million in there. Once this gets funded, there'll be around 3.9, and I think we're getting another payment from Harwich, I believe, soon.
That's right, I almost forgot about the payments
Yeah,
from Harwich. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Andy, please?
This, at least what I have in front of me, is labeled draft.
Yes, it is a draft. It just doesn't say draft on with the watermark. I just wrote it on there.
It also is blank with regard to the select board recommendation.
They just voted on this the other day.
I assume to support.
They voted the full, yes, all of them.
Okay, all right. So their recommendation was unanimously in support.
Yes.
Good, because I wouldn't want to lead them.
No,
We're not
I
allowed
only
to
gave
leave
you
them.
ones that they've actually already voted on.
Okay.
Yep.
And to be clear, they supported the dentification.
Yes. They did, and it was fully supported for, Corey was not present at the select board meeting,
No, it was
so,
Tuesday night,
yeah.
4-0. Barbara?
No, yep.
Carrie, I'm doing this from memory, so it could be all off, but it seems to me I saw a schedule of the payments due from Harwich and the dates they were received. And the one that was supposed to be received in June of this year did not show that it had been received. Have we received that payment?
June of 2025?
2024.
Yes, we have.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, further comments or questions? If not, support, Tommy Doan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yep.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Chairs in favor, 9-0. Article blank, transfer station improvements.
Yes, and this was also voted on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yep,
And
fully supported.
fully supported. Okay, can you walk us through it, please?
Yep, to see if the town will raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $3,400,000 for the purpose of paying costs associated with the redesign, renovation, construction, and equipping the town's transfer station located at 97 Sam Ryder Road. And this is 3.4 million would be funded, 3 million from free cash, and 400,000 would be funded through the tax rate.
Okay, thank you. Motion to support?
Wait, I'm at that point again.
Let's get a motion to support it first, then we'll ask for comments.
I'll make the motion to support.
Thank you. Second? All right, thank you. Joanne?
Yes, now where are we versus last year's tax rate so far? Somehow that's important to me. I know it's aggravating to some people, but so far, what we have voted, how does that reflect on what increase to last year's tax rate to this year's tax rate? I think it's important for our
Well, yeah,
viewers
so
to
let's-
know.
let's just- Yeah, so let's walk through it. So the
Let's-
OPEB from the overlay surplus, is no impact on the tax rate?
No impact.
Okay. Ambulance, 410,000, so roughly 4 cents,
Yep,
right?
yep.
I'm
Right.
gonna let you all sum it up for me, so I don't have to.
Okay, 4 cents.
Dredging.
Somebody keep track of this.
Is 4
Dredging,
cents.
$400,000. 8.
Then
Childcare
we
voucher,
have 1 cent.
yeah, let's call that 2.
175,
Let's call that 2 cents.
Okay, 2 cents.
So 10 cents.
12.
Nothing for the
Nothing for that,
revolving fund, water department operating budget, not on the tax rate.
not on the tax rate.
Sewer capital improvements, including
Not on the tax rate.
denitrification. Yeah, that's stabilization, so that came out of their pocket, so 10 cents in total so far.
And that's on top of, where do we stand versus last year's tax rate of 3.47?
So if we add 10 more cents
Yeah.
for this,
Okay.
that's 357.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
But I just think there's got to be some people out there watching us that must be interested in this as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, totally agree. So, we have a motion, questions. Barbara, please.
Do we have a way to limit this? Because I'll tell you my problem with it is initially it was supposed to be a couple of $1 million less than it's turned out to be. And unfortunately, I missed the meeting that we had on the last day that we had a meeting where it was discussed, and there were like $70,000 worth of change
Orders.
Yeah, change orders, which seemed like a lot to me after an increase of a couple of $1 million already. So hopefully this is the last time we're going to do this.
More hope. The,
Hope
so,
not
you know,
really
so it's an
being
interesting question, Barbara, because I don't remember where Rob's figure was, but I thought it was perilously close to 3.4. It was like 3.37 or something, and I was wondering if
Haven't we already spent over a couple $1 million though, doing,
oh, yeah.
you know, whatever? So altogether. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so I mean, from the original bill that was passed by town meeting, the part for the transfer station was much less than we're ending up spending on it.
Oh, yes. Even I can figure that one out.
But this has come down substantially from what they presented last.
Microphones.
This has come down substantially with the redo configurations that he was showing us, come down quite a bit from where they had started with what they had initially asked for in addition to what had been given. But the point is taken is will it end up being much more? I think Rob certainly felt the heat of that it had gone over. So I don't think that there would be a lack of caution in that regard.
And relative to the change order, in the meeting, Rob made the point, he actually reduced the contingency because portions of this had already been bid out, and he was very comfortable with the number as it was. And he did it, he had I don't remember what they were, but the change orders were, you know, unexpected, but they were things that were kind of outside of his control, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, to your point, I think we're ultimately, and Carrie can probably correct me, but we're approaching, if not exceeding, a $7 million project ultimately?
Yeah, let's see. We've got, yeah, it's about 7 million.
Yeah, back in the envelope. So,
Thanks.
yep.
Okay.
Okay, further comments or questions?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, support. Tommy?
Yes.
Barbara?
Okay.
Somewhat begrudgingly. John?
I guess so.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
You bet.
Eric?
Yes.
Sure. All right, 9-0. Sorry, we're obviously losing our minds here a little bit today. All right, that's what we got. I think it's about time we adjourn this meeting promptly. I'm not quite sure what was in the air filter today, but I apologize for our lack of professionalism towards the end of the meeting. All right, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Anybody? Thank you. Tommy, support.
Yes.
Dare I ask, Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yes.
I guess so. 9-0. All right. Let's wrap this thing up.